This morning I'd like to give a little tutorial about the difference between extracts, um, pharmacy bottles, and prescription drug bottles. And I have a small example of some stuff that I have that is a good example of the variety that there is. Let's start out with drugstore bottles. Now, sometimes they're confused with pharmacies, and they're pretty close. I mean, they both had the same purpose to sell drugs to their constituency. The first perfect example I would find is the Owl Drug Company from California. They were a large company, a large concern. They were all the way up into the early 20th century, and they were pretty much statewide in California. There was an owl drug, probably like there would be Rexall. Unfortunately, I don't have a Rexall with me, although they are around, and I have a few. This is a good example of a drugstore bottle advertising the store, and plus it probably had a label, but most likely there was a general drug here that could be sold pretty much over the counter without a prescription. A prescription example would be this one from Brooklyn, New York. Now this has the advertisement of the drugstore, and on the back there would have been a label. They advertised a drugstore, but pretty much this was a prescription where they would have brought in a drug that a doctor would have written for the patient. A confusion a lot has to do with extract bottles. Now, I should have more extracts on this table, but for the expediency of this, I just grabbed what I had in a box close to me. Here's a good one. Our extract guaranteed. Well, it looks like a medicine bottle, and a lot of people would see doctor. There's a few. Dr. Price is a good example of extract bottles that would confuse people because you would assume a doctor wouldn't be selling extracts, but apparently extracts serve more than one purpose. But here's a bottle that's very important, and this is a patent medicine put out by a druggist. This is also a patent medicine bottle, and it was put out by a druggist. So this was a medicine that he produced, but he also had a drugstore which put out medicine and prescribed drugs that a doctor would have written up for. Another little national bottle would be Quality Purity. This is a later bottle, probably 1900 to 1920s. They were in machine made, and this would have also been a national brand. Now, what does this bottle, for instance, which is definitely a prescription drug from Savannah, have in common with this bottle here from Brooklyn, or this bottle here from Trenton, New Jersey? Well, if you look at the bottom, you'll see that there's a WT and Company. That represents Whitehall Tannum, the largest prescription drug and actually glass container company in the world at one point. Whitehall Tannum put up almost 85% before 1900 of all prescription drug bottles. If you pick up any of these, you will see that there is clearly a Whitehall, a WT and Company on the bottom. I don't know if you can see that very well. This one had it. This one is an early bottle, 1870s, so I'm not sure if there would have been Whitehall tan. Definitely this not, because this is a Western bottle, would have been a Western glass house or Illinois. This one for sure is could have been a Lawrence glass, but it is also a Savannah bottle. But 9 times out of 10, I would say that this bottle was put out by Whitehall Tannum. Tannum put out 90% of these bottles, and it didn't really matter where they came from. They were distributed all over the country. You could see, if I can get the letters here, you might be able to see the Whitehall Tannum on that. But that any bottle pretty much from New Jersey, for sure, but all over the country, Tannum put out bottles. Some of these pill bottles that are round bottom, that are no place to put a mark, that doesn't exclude them from being Whitehall Tannum, although a lot of these were put up by other pharmaceutical companies in the day, and there's no real telling you. But they put out, here's a Whitehall Tannum, a little tiny pill bottle probably, or salve bottle, and they had all a familiarity with them. These, like here's a dirty old Great Seal from Ohio. This would be considered, this is an extract. It still has the extract in it. And this bottle would also be considered an extract bottle, but some people might confuse it as a medicine or prescription drug. But the main thing that's similar to mostly all of these is that they were, sorry about that, that they were all pretty much in line with Whitehall Tannum. They put out most of these prescription bottles. Here's a good example. When you see the WT and Company, that's before 1901. From the 1870s to 1901, you would see WT and Company. After that, from up until 1939, I believe it was WT Company, and then after that, Brockway brought them out, or who was it? Was it Brockway? Another big company bought them out. I can't remember right off the bat, and that, I think, was a Ball. My mind. Anyway, after 1939, you no longer see the Whitehall Tannum. There was a W over the T over W in a V shape. That was in the 1930s and 40s. That was a holdover for a Whitehall Tannum, although they were already incorporated in another company. But just to give you a little short run, give you an idea of the different bottles that fall into this category. I don't have a lot here. There's a wide range of extract. There's round. These are mostly ovals. There's some squares in here, like this one. These are considered ovals, you know, and they have different names to the style. Whitehall Tannum had a big distribution of different oval bottles, and of course these little pill bottles. These definitely were pill because of the fact that the pills in those days were round. They were not what you see today. They were basically round, little, almost like candy, and so they could fit easily in a bottle and roll right out if you needed to dispense them. So there you go, a little short thing about Whitehall Tannum, and I don't have any Illinois. That would have been a diamond and an eye, and this would be the time period that they would show up with that marking, although I don't have any right offhand. I'll come up with some later. This is a really big variety of bottles, and this is a small section of them. I will find more of them as we go on. There you go. Take care.